Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed. I've got some beautiful St. Louis cut ribs here today, and I'm gonna show you how I do them competition style. I know a lot of guys been requesting this one. I want y'all to see how I do it. Let's get to cooking. So when I'm doing competition ribs, I'm taking the time to pick out the best quality rib I can, season it with the best ingredients, and really baby it throughout that cooking process. The first thing we have to do to our comp ribs is get them trimmed up. Take them out of the cryovac. We're gonna square them up because I want these ribs to be pretty close to even so they cook even while they're on the smoker. We'll take the ends off and then we'll come back and we'll shorten the slabs to where they fit in the box. And we do this by removing some of that rib tip that's up at the top of these St. Louis cut spare ribs. And you can see it just kind of evens them up. Of course, we gotta get that membrane off. It's a barrier. So if you can just use the end of a butter knife or a spoon, raise it up a little bit till you can get a finger under it, and then grab some paper towel and just slowly peel it off. What's left, you want to just trim off with your knife if there's any scraps of fat or any sinew that's still there. Once we get the backs trimmed, we're going to flip them over and we're just going to eyeball the top and we're going to take off anything that doesn't look appetizing. These two slabs right now look perfect. They're ready to go. All we got to do is get some seasoning on them. So when I'm seasoning my competition ribs, the first thing I want to do is get a little light coat of mustard on them. Now there's all kinds of binders you could use. I like just plain mustard, and you see I don't put much. What this does is it gives something that the rub to stick to, and that's all it is. It's just tacking it up, tacking the surface of these ribs up so our rub will stick to it. We're not going to taste this. It's not going to really do anything to the flavor at all. Now for the seasoning, of course you can use any kind of rub you want. There's all kinds of great competition rubs out there, and I do use my products when I compete. I've got my first layer is my hot rub because I want a spicy, savory layer. And you notice we're not going super heavy because we're going to layer on another sweet layer. And once we get that on, I'm just going to kind of loosely pat it in. And now I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. When I do comp ribs, I flip them a couple times. It just kind of helps get that rub worked in. There's plenty of mustard. Don't forget the edges. Now we're doing the same thing. A little light coat of that hot and spicy rub. Now we're going to flip them back over. It's just working that seasoning in every time they come in contact with the board. It's making it stick to the meat. It's making it sweat a little bit. What we want to do now is we're going to put our layer of just original Killer Hogs BBQ rub. This is where you'd want a sweet rub layer. And once again, we're not going heavy. These ribs aren't getting packed. We're just wanting to get a good even coat. It's about building layers. And now we're going to flip them back over. Same thing, a light coat, Killer Hogs regular rub. And we're just going to lightly pat them in. We're not rubbing them, we're just kind of tapping them. It works that rub into the meat. But now they just need to sit here on the countertop and they need to rest for about an hour. Let those salts and those sugars start working on that meat. Start pulling some of that moisture out. Let's get the smoker fired up. Now when it comes to cooking competition ribs, there's all kinds of smokers out there that I see on the competition trail. Today I'm going to show you how I do them on my Gateway drum. But whether you're using a pellet grill, a stick burner, an old hickory, it doesn't matter. All of those smokers will work fine when it comes to cooking competition ribs, and you can follow this technique the same way. The first thing we're going to do is get us a basket full of lump charcoal going in our drum. It takes 2 wax cubes. We're just going to light them up, and then we're going to drop it in. Now we're going to control the drum. I want it to run about 250 today, and I'm using a barbecue guru, the CyberQ. I fell in love with this thing. When it comes to running a drum pit, you can't beat it. It holds it right there. I've just got my vents barely cracked just to let some air flow, and I've got that CyberQ set on 250, and I know it's going to stay there the whole time. Once our coals get up, I'm going to throw in a little bit of wood, and it doesn't take a whole lot of wood on the drum. I like to use a piece of cherry and a piece of hickory. That's all that's going on. Then we're going to get our grate in place, and then we're going to be ready to cook as soon as it comes up to temp. All right, I've got the drum up to 250 degrees. You see we got a little of that cherry grill wood smoke rolling. That's what you want to see. We're just going to get these ribs right on the pit. You want to lay them on there, straighten them out. They're going to cook exactly how you put them on. Now we're going to get the lid back on. We're going to keep these ribs in that cherry smoke, keep them good and happy, a little bit of hickory rolling. All right, our comp ribs have been on about 30 minutes, and this is the point where I want to take a peek at them, see if they need any moisture. I've got a spray bottle ready. I've just got a little bit of water mixed with a little bit of apple juice in it. I don't want to go all sweet on it because I don't want those sugars to burn, so I dilute it down. Let's take a look at them. You see they're starting to cook. We still got some good smoke going. They are getting a little bit dry. And so I'm just going to go ahead and hit them a little bit. I just got it on a mist. I'm just wetting them up. You don't have to worry about putting any more seasoning on right now. We're just going to get a little bit of moisture in there. Get the lid right back on them. We're not wanting to drop our pit temp. That guru is going to bounce us back. But just remember, whenever you go in your pit, you're letting that heat out. It's going to be recovery time. It's going to be time added. All right, we're going to check on our ribs once again. It's been another 30 minutes, so we're at an hour total so far. I'm just going to take the lid off. Still looking good, but you can see they're trying to get a little dry. That's okay. We just want to spray the spots that look dry. We're just going to keep the lid on. You know, we're at an hour mark. 2 hours was what we're shooting for before we wrap. So we're going to check them one more time. Then it'll be time to start thinking about how we're going to wrap these comp style ribs. All right, it's been about 2 hours, and this is the point where we want to get these comp ribs wrapped up. So we're just going to take the lid off here, and we're going to get one slab at a time and take them over to the aluminum foil we've got set up. See, we've got good color on them. They've got good bark. We're starting to get a little pullback on them. All right, to wrap, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to use a richness, a fat in there. And I'm going to use some of this Magic Blue Bottle. I know you guys have seen us use it in the competitions. It's just Parkay margarine. If you want to use butter, hey, that's fine. But you don't need a whole lot. We're just going to make 3 good runs down the full, just like that. Now we want to put on about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And you just want to spread that over the butter. Then we've got a tablespoon of honey we're going to drizzle on. That looks right to me on that first one. We'll save some for the next slab. You know you gotta have that honey for the money. And now we're going meat down. Now here's the point where you can clean up that back side. You see how we've got a couple of these little hanger-ons? These little pieces of the fat that's rendered down. It's kind of cooked a little bit. You don't want the judges to eat that, so go ahead and pick it off. So we've got our rich element. We've got that margarine spread down, and we've got our sweet element, the brown sugar and the honey. We need some spice and we need some acidity now. And that's where I'm going to use my vinegar sauce. And we're just going to drizzle this over the back side of these ribs, right down the middle. Just like that. It's going to add some moisture in there, but the spice and the acidity from that vinegar is going to melt and mix with that butter and the sugar, and it's really going to give these ribs a great flavor. Then we just close them up. Ready to go back on the pit, but I'm going to grab the other rack real quick. I wrap them this way so those bones that are sticking out get 2 layers of full. You got 1 layer over them. I'm going to bring that layer. It really protects them right there. Keeps that full from tearing. Let's get them back on the pit. You noticed I went meat down in the full, and that's how they're going right back on the grill. Meat down, bones up. We're going to let them go like this. About 1 hour and 15 minutes, we need to be checking them. We're still running 250 degrees. We're not worried about smoke at this point. It's all about temperature. All right, our ribs have been rolling for about 1 hour. I always like to check them no matter what. I mean, if it takes 1 hour, 1 hour 15, 1.5 hours, doesn't matter. We're gonna get a slab off. We're gonna look at it. Now let's open them up and see what we're working with here. You see we've got pullback. When you start seeing some disintegration on that membrane, that's what I wanna see. I guarantee you, this rack of ribs is done. I mean, they're flexing. That's what you want, just like that. I know we need to go ahead and get them off. After about 1 hour at 250 on that drum, they're done. We go get that other rack off. So now we're gonna check this second rack. Oh yeah, we've got disintegration on the big bones. You wanna see that? When we broke down, we've got great exposure on the edges of those ribs. I just wanna kind of feel what they feel like when I move the full. If they feel like they're gonna break, it's another telltale sign. So when they come off the pit, I wanna give them a little bit of a rest. I'm talking, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, just sitting out. Let them calm down, let the juices stay in there. Stops that cooking process. It lets them cool off a little bit. So now I'm just gonna make a full boat. And this is just an easy way to transfer these ribs back to the smoker when we get ready to glaze them. I just tear off a sheet of foil about as long as you would when you wrap. We're just gonna fold it up into something that'll hold these ribs. And I just like to reinforce it by folding the edges a little bit. We're just gonna turn it up and make an edge, just like that. Right after our ribs have had time to rest for about 15 minutes to 1/2 hour, we're gonna go ahead and get them out of the full. What I like to do is just open it up and then have something you can collect the juice in. I've got just a little waste can here set up, and I'm just pouring the juice out. Pour it into a bucket, whatever you want, a pan. Makes it a little bit easier to deal with. Now we can transfer them real easy. Just pick them up. They're still smoking hot even after resting. And it's just a beautiful slab of ribs. I mean, look at that color the barbecue rub gave them. The vinegar sauce cooking down, the brown sugar, the way it coats them. That's what I want to see. Hey, if I'm a judge, I want to eat these right now. But we're not through with them yet. We want to get a little glaze on the outside, really finish these ribs off with the sweet and spicy sauce. And so what I've done is I've taken 1 part of my vinegar sauce and mixed it with 3 parts of the Killer Hogs original sauce. Makes an awesome glaze. It's picking up some of that same color because of the rub that's in the sauces. And I'm just gonna gently brush it on, but just wanna give it a light coat. And it helps if you warm the sauce up just a little bit. Paint the bone edges. This is gonna make them shine. And I don't want really a real saucy rib. That's why we're going light, and we've kind of got it turned into a glaze. This is gonna tack up when we put it back on the drum for a little bit. It's gonna make an awesome competition rib. I mean, that's amazing color right there. They need about 15 more minutes to tighten up, to let that glaze sit and kind of cook it on. We don't want to serve it wet like this to the judge. So I'm gonna get these over on the pit. Let's get the lid on. About 15 more minutes, we're gonna check them. I know they're gonna be ready. We're gonna take them off. Then it'll be time to cut them up, and we can see what we did today with these comp ribs. And I just want y'all to look at these ribs. These comp ribs turned out beautiful. I mean, I love that color. I mean, that's a mahogany color. It comes from the rub, from the glaze, from that cherry grillwood smoke we put on it. I'm just gonna flip them over. And then the reason why I flip them over is because you can see the bones, see where you need to make your cuts. You just wanna take your time, use a good knife, and go right between those bones. Makes a perfect cut every time, nice and straight. Using a long bladed knife really helps you get even cuts all the way through. You're not sawing at them, you're just taking one swipe and going right down these ribs. So now we're gonna flip them over. Oh man, look at the smoke ring you can see on them. We're not done yet though, because when we got ready to box these ribs for a judge, we would need a little more sauce on them. And what I like to do is just kind of take them one by one and touch up that edge where that judge would bite. It locks the moisture in and it makes a better looking rib in the box to have a little bit of light coat of sauce right on those edges. So if I was gonna pick some of these ribs out for the judges, I want these 4 or 5 right in the center there. Those good hearty ribs, they all have uniform thickness. This one's got my name on it. I want you to look at that. That is just beautiful. Got the edges sauced up. I mean, that is a magnificent rib. Now I'm gonna try it and just see how it tastes. It's tender. You get the smokiness from that cherry and a little bit of hickory wood. Bites right through. I mean, it's awesome. That is an awesome rib. You get a little sweetness from the glaze, but the peppers and the seasonings from those rubs really come through, so it balances it all out. They're rich as they can be and they're juicy, I mean, all the way through. And that is just an awesome rib. It's not overcooked, it's not mushy. The texture is there. And more importantly, you get a clean bone. And that's what you want when you're doing competition ribs. They shouldn't be falling apart. They should have some texture to them, but the bones should come out clean. And that's what I want to see when I'm doing competition style ribs. Thanks for checking us out here at HowToBBQRight today. Subscribe to our channel and hit that little bell if you want to know when we put out new videos. We're going to be putting them out all year long. As always, you can send us comments and questions at Facebook and Twitter. We try to answer all of them. We'll see you guys next time. Man, these turned out fantastic. I want to turn them in, Shell. We need some judges here.